The longest-running off-road and action motorsports radio show on the planet is coming to you live with the biggest guest in motorsports. Here is the only man on the planet who can pack this much dirt slinging and tire slaying into 2 hours a week. Sit back, strap in, and be prepared to get your ears blown. Here is Jim Beaver and the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor.
And we're here on the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. Thanks for tuning in today. We got a little bit different show format today, kind of throwing it back how we used to do things before we were in national syndication. We were doing a podcast style here on the show. Because we're post Indy 500, post Charlotte Coke 600, Charlotte General Tire ARCA 150. We got a lot to talk about today. We needed to go in depth in our power rankings, and we've got an amazing guest, your General Tire 150 winner from ARCA, Ty Majeski. He is on the line today, and then I've also got Chris Leone breaking down these crazy shenanigan-filled power rankings that we will have upon us this week. So definitely going to be a fun show. A little bit different format. We'll be back to normal next week, but this week we're doing it podcast style right here. So if you haven't already, please head over to iTunes, hit the subscribe button, subscribe to us so you get all of our shows. Got a couple of shows every week coming through that feed. Also got the off-road edition where my partner in crime, Tiffany Stone, should be on there with me this week. So yeah, I was out at Charlotte Motor Speedway last weekend for Coke 600 qualifying, General Tire ARCA 150, and then obviously the week before that, I was out at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We're coming off the biggest weekend in motorsports. They like to say the biggest weekend in motorsports. I don't know. I think next weekend might be just as big with the Baja 500 and everything else that's going on. But, man, massive weekend, and we have a ton to talk about today on the Down and Dirty Radio Show powered by Polaris Razor. So if you got any questions, hit me up at JimBeaver15. I love chatting with you guys on social media, and we are going to take a short commercial break, and we come back, we're going to roll right into things right here on the Down and Dirty Radio Show powered by Polaris Razor. You want extreme performance, reliability, and the most fun you can have on four wheels? The Polaris Razor brings it to you, but you don't need to take my word for it. You can take theirs.
I'm Tanner Faust, and I choose the Polaris Razor because it's the most fun you can have with a steering wheel.
What's up? I'm Ronnie Renner, and I choose Polaris Razor because it's the sickest, most reliable side-by-side on the planet.
What's up, everybody? Heavy D from Diesel Brothers. Listen, I'm on Team Razor because it's hands down the best piece of machinery on the planet.
I'm RJ Anderson, and I choose Polaris Razor because it's the most fun, most capable machine.
Action sports stars, TV personalities, and some of the best race car drivers in the world all choose Polaris Razor because it's the ultimate combination of power, suspension, agility, and fun. Find out more information on the web at PolarisRazor.com or follow at Polaris Razor on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and use the hashtag RazorLife to share your story.
Ford WP is more than a store. We're truck and Jeep experts and have been for over 50 years. From wheel and tire upgrades to full custom builds, Ford WP has you covered. Whether you want to order the best parts online or shop in store, do the work yourself or get it done by a pro, all roads lead to Ford WP. Do your rig right. Shop online or find your store at FordWP.com.
For 100 years, General Tire has provided tires for your lifestyle, your adventure, your anywhere. Born from competition, the Grabber tire offers the durability and off-road traction you demand in a tire. We put these tires to the test in the harshest off-road racing conditions to give you a tire that will make your anywhere possible. So let us take you on your next big adventure. Tweet us photos at General Tire, hashtag anywhere is possible. Because with General Tire, anywhere is possible. When looking for a new wheel for your off-road vehicle, car, truck, or UTV, the choice is easy. You choose what the pros use. Rob McCachran, Keegan Kincaid, and myself, Jim Beaver, all exclusively use Vision Wheel, whether we're dominating Baja, taking the cup at Crandon, or shredding UTVs. Vision Wheel's trend-setting designs and durability will set you apart from the competition and your friends. Check out visionwheel.com or at Vision Wheel on social media to learn more. Looking to have some fun on four wheels? Dirtfish Rally School has you covered. Packing as much adrenaline and adventure as you can handle into high-performance all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive Subaru rally cars is where the fun begins at Dirtfish. Just 30 minutes outside of Seattle and Snoqualmie, you'll get a chance to train up to 3 full days with some of the country's best instructors and be put through the high-octane rush of rally on mud, dirt, and tarmac. Get started today and call 425-888-7715 or visit us online at dirtfish.com and use code 911 for a 15% discount.
Like what you hear? Catch all the back episodes of the Down and Dirty Radio Show on Apple Podcast, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe.
Oh man, that was a hell of a ride. Go check out mymedic.com for the best first aid kits on the planet and save 15% with discount code Jim Beaver. Again, mymedic.com, discount code Jim Beaver, and save 15%. It's cheaper than a funeral.
That's right. Head on over to mymedic.com and check out the best damn first aid kits on the market. They will help keep you safe, keep you alive until you can get to a hospital. You know, this isn't those junk first aid kits you buy at your local drugstore. They got something for everyone. mymedic.com. Use the coupon code JimBeaver, and it's going to get you 15% off at MyMedic. And yes, welcome back to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. Just getting things started. And, it was... what a crazy, crazy weekend of racing. Indy 500 did not disappoint. Probably one of the best Indy 500s I've seen in a long time. Alex Rossi driving like a man possessed. Absolutely possessed. A heartbreaker for him at the end. You know me. I was pulling for Rossi. He comes on the show a lot, right? You got to pull for your buddy. But that's not taking anything away from the month of May that Simon Pagenaud had. Just an amazing. Anytime you can sweep the month of May at Indy, qualify in the pole, win the 500, win the GP, man, that is a magical month of May, and Will Power did it last year, right, man? There's something with these Penske drivers, but just a crazy Indy 500. We're going to break down that race and talk about it in our power ranking segment this week, and man, just lots of stuff happening in the world of off-road. Obviously, I was out at the General Tire ARCA 150, kickoff to the Coke 600 weekend, and I know, General Tire's investment into NASCAR and, and the series outside of, Cup, Xfinity, and trucks is crazy, man. I know a lot of people say, they've kind of pulled back from off-road. Well, I don't see them pulling back from off-road. Obviously, they've got some marquee talents in desert racing, marquee talents in short course, but, man, they are moving and shaking in NASCAR world, and you go out to Charlotte Motor Speedway, you see that big General Tire banner on the backstretch, and then you see it painted in the grass there right in front of the stands. Like, man, General Tire definitely making things happen in the world of NASCAR. Going to be really, really interesting to see what the future holds for that relationship and stock cars and General Tires. But right now, man, it's always a blessing to be able to go out there and see what they're doing. Thanks to everybody who tuned into our takeover of their social media accounts, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, man. We were rocking it there last week, and you can go back, check out some of the posts that we threw up. But, crazy time, out there. And big thanks to Chris Leone for flying in and helping me out. Got to go and hang out with my boy Steve Arpin at his race shop. He just announced his new program. Obviously, he's racing with Ken Block again at Nitro, but Arpin will be holding it down. And then they've got Travis Picoy coming in to wheel one of the cars. CBDMD coming on as a sponsor. So Steve Arpin, it's always fun to go to his shop, see how things operate, see what he's doing. I know they've been out testing, and big announcements coming out of the Arpin camp. So, definitely going to be interesting. I know we're only a couple of weeks away from the ARX kickoff, America's Rallycross. So, looking forward to seeing how this year shapes up, what the grid looks like, drivers and things like that. I think it's a series that's just getting its foothold and finding its way. So I'm really, really excited to see year number 2 of ARX and see what's in store for us with that series. So. Yeah, it's, there's so much to talk about. Baja 500 coming up. Obviously, big news coming out of Lucas Oil. The track there at Wheatlands, it was tornado came through, whipped through, and mangled everything there in Wheatlands at that facility. So I know there's a big short course event coming up. We haven't got a lot of news out of Lucas Oil on what's to come with that. With that event, if it's going to be canceled, it's going to be moved or what. But man, that was a big story. That facility lays host to a bunch of different things, not just short course, drag boats and various other series. I think late models. So it's definitely a tough road ahead. But thoughts going out to everybody there at Wheatlands. But I know I've been getting pinged a lot. Hey, Jimmy, what's the deal on that track? What's the deal on that race? And I know I'm slated to call the live stream for it. And I'm just telling you guys, I don't know right now. So as soon as I do know, I will let you guys know. But it's been kind of a big story, and I've been getting hit with a lot of messages, and I absolutely just don't know what's to come with that event. So as soon as I know, I will let you guys know what's going on out there with Wheatlands. But Crandon, before that, I'm stoked to be heading to Crandon here in a couple of weeks to kick off the Midwest short course season. So I will be calling the live stream for that. And if you're there on site, I guess the live PA stuff as well. So lots coming up, in the month of June. Obviously, Baja 500 upon us. I know a lot of my friends down there at Baja pre-running right now wanted to get an off-road driver on, but chances of that happening are slim to none when everybody's in Baja. So, big weekend upon us, coming off a big weekend back-to-back, just crazy. We got Dirtfish Oregon Trail Rally coming up as well. And just, I don't know, all kinds of stuff cranking. So definitely looking forward to this next weekend in racing and what's to come. But, we are going to take a short break here. And when we come back, man, Chris Leone, he's going to be holding it down, locked down with me on Power Rankings. And we got a big expanded segment. You want us to dissect what happened this past weekend in motorsports? It's coming right at you right now on the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR, right after this break. I'm Polaris rider Jim Beaver. I race trophy trucks professionally, host a Down and Dirty radio show, and also travel the country announcing motorsports events. I've seen it all, and trust me, I've done most of it, so when it comes time to relax on the weekend, nothing is better than taking time with my family in our RZR vehicles. They've got the reliability I need to just pick up and go explore the desert, dunes, or trail, and have the capability to attack even the harshest terrain. If you're looking for some of the most reliable and safest, and hands down most capable off-road machines in the world, look no further than Polaris and their award-winning lineup of RZR vehicles. Whether you want your daughter to experience off-road driving for the first time in a RZR 170 like me, take the entire family out in a RZR XP4 1000 on the weekend, or shred the desert and dunes in the all-new RZR XP 1000 Fox Edition, Polaris has you handled. Take my advice and join me and some of the best drivers in the world by driving a Polaris RZR. Check out the full Polaris RZR lineup at Polaris.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Polaris RZR. Do you race, or are you a weekend warrior? Have you checked on the date on your helmet recently? Don't get caught off guard by using an outdated helmet. Impact Racing, the leader in motorsport safety, has new SA 2015 helmets to fit your budget. Whether you're looking for a helmet with a full carbon fiber shell to take you to victory at the Indy 500, or just looking for some helmets for a weekend at Glamis, Impact Racing has a helmet for you. Find out more information at impactraceproducts.com or on Facebook at Impact Safety.
Come to the island and rip it up this summer. Wakeboard Island. It's a skate park on water at Blue Water Resort and Casino. Check out the 2-tower cable system that pulls you and your board over the water. No boats to watch out for, no fumes. Wakeboard Island is open to all skill levels with an open center section for beginners. And for trick riders, a double side kicker in a 60-foot flat box. Wakeboard Island, the best ride this side of the Rockies. Adjacent to the River's Edge Cantina at Blue Water Resort and Casino on the Colorado River in Parker, Arizona.
Life is all about sound, the sound of sports, the sound at the racetrack, and the sound of your vehicle. Don't drive around listening to this. Drive around listening to the sound of performance. Gibson Performance. Gibson Performance Exhaust is the company who can turn this into this. Remember that life is all about sound, and Gibson Exhaust is the sound of performance. Check out your next catback exhaust system, headers, muffler, or UTV exhaust at GibsonPerformance.com and get more power and more sound.
Hey, this is Jim Beaver, host of the Down and Dirty Radio Show. Getting down and dirty on the racetrack is all fun and games until it's time to get the dirt off. I know it all too well, which is why I partnered with MotoShield Pro, the leaders in nanotechnology solutions on the racetrack and in off-road to combat mud and dirt buildup on my vehicles. MotoShield Pro keeps us from taking unnecessary damage and spending extra energy on cleaning. No matter the weather or the surface, having proper protection on all my vehicles saves me plenty of reprep time in a sport where every second counts. Prep your vehicle like a pro. Learn more at MotoShieldPro.com.
Thanks for tuning in to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, available live online, in syndication on networks across the U.S., and available internationally on the American Forces Network.
Welcome back to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. I'd like to welcome Media Director for Down and Dirty Show, Chris Leone, to the line for our regularly scheduled Power Rankings. And Chris, I guess biggest weekend in motorsports, didn't disappoint. I can't say that it makes our life easy with Power Rankings, but I guess at least we've got a lot to choose from this week.
Oh, it sure doesn't make our life easier, Jim. And this coming weekend doesn't really do it either.
No,
because
not
of
at
how
all.
many other events are going on too.
No, I know we were out at the ARCA race. It's funny because you and I, everybody wants to talk about, I guess Memorial Weekend. You got Coke 600, Indy 500. Obviously, F1 fans got Monaco GP. You and I guess we did our version of the double this year, though. We were out at Indy and at Charlotte. So I guess, I don't know, we got a little taste of both worlds this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And, frankly, both tracks, both organizations, just such top-notch groups of people. It was just awesome to be able to do an event in Indianapolis. For me, for the first time, I know you've been going to the GP for a while now, and to be able to tag along with you at Charlotte as well. We got some really great races in this month, and, Sunday certainly didn't disappoint either. I mean, full day of racing, basically woke up, put on Monaco, watched the whole thing, didn't fall asleep until right after the 600 ended. So that's a pretty darn good day in my book, I'd say.
Yeah, how much beer did you go through?
Not too much, probably lower than you'd think, but, yeah, definitely. I had beer for breakfast, I'm not going to lie.
Oh, it's all right, breakfast beer. Breakfast beer's for, my breakfast beer, I love like Hefeweizens, like Blue Moon, Shock Top, actually the real like microbrew stuff too. But it's like Blue Moon, you mix it with an orange slice, or you drink it and you throw an orange slice in there, right? That's generally the way you drink it. I'm like, well, hell with that. Like my breakfast beer it's like half Blue Moon, half orange juice. I'm like, that way I can get away. I call breakfast beer. I can get away with drinking beer for breakfast. So it's like, yeah, there we go. So that's always my excuse, but I guess you can
beer mosa,
yeah, beer mosa, exactly, man. You and I are on the same page there, but so talking about beer mosas, Sunday racing this past weekend, we got a lot to cover in these power rankings. Like obviously we talked about the three big ones that were in action, but starting out at number 5, I can guarantee you mine's completely different than yours. Where was your number 5 in the world of motorsports and your power rankings this past weekend, Chris?
Well, Jim, this is frankly a painful one for me to put at number 5 because I feel bad not putting him a little higher. Didn't win the race, but put on a hell of a show. I've got Alexander Rossi at number 5. And the whole reason for that is, look, Monaco, Indy, and Charlotte are just the three. It's the biggest motorsports weekend that we get every single year, and they're three of the biggest races in their respective series. Obviously, Monaco and Indy are the signature races, and the 600 for NASCAR, it's number 2 or number 3 on the list. So I've got to give the winners their due, and there is another one on there that might surprise you a little bit, but for those reasons, I'm sorry. We've got some great friends in the Andretti camp, but I've got to give the nod to the winners of the weekend. And, Alex was about 2 seconds away from being a lot higher on my list this week, but man, did he deserve, the finish that he got. Man, did he deserve to possibly win that thing. What they recovered from the way that he had to work some of the lapped cars, there was no way Alexander Rossi wasn't going on my list. It's a tough weekend to have a performance like that on if you're not the winner at the end.
Yeah, and I think he had a lot of people cheering for him, just with the whole fist out of the car at 200 miles an hour like he was doing with Servia. Everybody was watching the drama unfold in the pits, and it wasn't Andretti's fault. It was a mechanical malfunction on the fueling rig, 20-second pit stop, I think, at one point. Like, everything was against him, and somehow he battled back, and you and I have talked about it. Rossi, and we saw it last year when he came from the back, he is one of the most aggressive IndyCar drivers there is, and just watching him battle through the field, no doubt, no arguments him being on your list. He is on mine. It isn't at number 5 though, because at number 5 I've got one that I know isn't on your list. Tanner Godfrey. Now, if you guys don't follow UTV stuff on social media, you're probably like, What Tanner Godfrey, how the hell is he on Jimmy's list, right? Well, this is the list where I can do whatever the hell I want, and I got Tanner Godfrey on there because Mr. Godfrey, a lot of you guys know the Godfrey name, Godfrey clan from Nitro Circus fame, Greg Godfrey, one of the founders of Nitro Circus. Tanner Godfrey, his nephew, had some accidents. He basically drives a UTV with a driving stick, right? So he steers with one hand. He actually operates the throttle and brake with basically a walking cane. He calls it his driving stick. The reason why he's on my list, though, is they had a big thing with the Diesel brothers over the weekend, and he regained at one point in time. He was the UTV world record holder for the longest jump in a UTV. Well, this past weekend, he took that back. He jumped 247 feet in his Polaris RZR, and he did it. They were actually getting ready to call the jump off because there were 30-mile-an-hour crosswinds. It died down just a hair. They were going to call it off. He said, nope, I'm going. People are here. We got a packed house. I'm doing it. 14-mile-an-hour crosswinds. He jumped his Polaris RZR 247 feet. It was total whip style in the air. Reading his post on Instagram, he said he dropped the driving stick midway through the air, grabbed the steering wheel with both hands because he has to jump with one hand because he operates the throttle and brake with the other with a driving stick. Anyways, balls of steel, Tanner Godfrey, 247 feet in a Polaris RZR. He's number 5 on my list, Chris.
Jimmy, just throw out the rest of my list now because that man's got a pair of brass ones the size of my fist.
Yeah, no doubt. I don't know. Yeah, I can't put it up with an Indy 500 winner, but I'm like, I got to get Tanner Godfrey, the guy, and he's one of my favorite guests. I know I'm going to text him. He won't be on this week, but hopefully next week we can get Tanner on. Love having him on air. Just literally one of the most inspirational stories ever, but I got him at number 5. Chris, who is your number 4?
Well, Jim, I'm going to move to something that was probably a little more pedestrian, considering that we're headed to Monaco and considering that passing at Monaco is pretty well near impossible. But I'm giving my number 4 slot to Lewis Hamilton, 3rd Monaco Grand Prix victory, able to hold off Max Verstappen. And Max was charging because Max knew he had a 5-second penalty at the end of the race. Just wasn't quite able to make the pass or extend some distance. And eventually that ended up costing Max the podium because, 3rd and 4th across the line were within that 5 seconds. But Lewis Hamilton did exactly what he needed to do. He's been dominating this season. And, obviously with the passing of Niki Lauda just before the Grand Prix, obviously it's a very special victory for those guys to be able to take home another Monaco Grand Prix win, the team that Niki worked with until his passing. So obviously that was a very special win for Lewis Hamilton and the Mercedes group. So, another great one for them, another Monaco victory for Lewis Hamilton, and that's where my number 4 goes.
Yeah, well, and I've got Lewis Hamilton on my list. He's a little bit higher ranked than you. Question though, and I found it funny, which will be my lead into my number 4. But there was all over social media. Obviously, you said Monaco. It's an interesting track because it's built on the city streets. It's been around forever. They can't make the track any wider, but as Formula One cars have got bigger, it's made it really hard to pass. And I laugh because, like, one of the highlight clips all over social media, I believe it was Charles Leclerc. Now, if I'm wrong, trust me, it was a long weekend, but I just saw the clip. But he made a pass in the hairpin there at Monaco, I believe, and everybody was going like nuts over it. You know what I mean? And I started looking at it, I'm like, yeah, that was rad for Formula One. Like, it was a cool pass. But then I start thinking about it. I'm like, did anybody not watch the Indy 500? Like, how was this like the greatest pass of the weekend? Like to me, I love Formula One. I love the technology. There's so much that goes into being a Formula One fan, but I think like you watch the Indy 500 and it's like, how can you say Formula One is more interesting than watching an IndyCar race? Like, I don't know. To me, it was just crazy. Did you see that pass? Do you know what I'm talking about, Chris?
Yeah, and context is key with anything. I mean, the fact of the matter is, people like us, I think, are always going to find the Indy 500 inherently more interesting because you're going to have a lot more passing. And frankly, when you're doing it at 220, 230, 240, that takes a certain skill set, and it's a skill set that very few of us have. I mean, and honestly, if you're trying to make a pass in a hairpin, you're going at a much slower speed, but with how wide teams have made the Formula One cars these days and the regulations, it's just so apples and oranges to me that it's hard to really come up with a fair comparison. I'm with you. I prefer what's going on at Indy, frankly, because I think it's much easier to find a storyline in Indianapolis, that's interesting than it is necessarily at a Formula One race. I mean, in an IndyCar race, you've got a bunch of different drivers up at the front of the pack who have the opportunity to be able to win that race. We saw it with the battle for the win in the last 15 or so laps, multiple passes for the lead, and we had no idea which one was going to be the winning pass. In Formula One, I mean, there's a lot of drama in the results sheet, but it's down 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and that's just not where we look anymore for anything interesting. You don't have, particularly on TV, you don't show a lot of those battles necessarily anymore. You show a lot of the leaders. You show a lot of, if it's NASCAR, maybe guys within the top 10, but you don't necessarily always see the best racing over any given weekend. And that makes it a lot harder in the modern day and age, I think, to follow Formula One. So, a hairpin pass at Monaco is always going to be dramatic and is always going to be impressive because the sight lines are just nuts, and the amount of room that you have to be able to squeeze it in is just nuts. But, yeah, I'm with you. The amount of passes that you see at Indy, the quality of passes, the drama of passes. We talked about Alexander Rossi. That is always going to hold my attention a little more than the Formula One race.
Yeah, no, completely agree. And talking about that, I think just the final, 5 laps of the Indy 500 alone solidified my number 4, which I've got Alex Rossi slotted in. Obviously he actually needed that. He didn't have a good GP, bounced him back to 3rd in points, but honestly, the guy, he stole the weekend. Simon Pagenaud, obviously, he's the winner. He took home the big check. He swept the month of May. But Rossi earned so many fans with the way he drove, and and even after the race, he was frustrated. Simon was it was interesting if you watch that last lap of the race and the way he was blocking Rossi, but Rossi, he said he did what he had to do. Tip of the cap to Simon. There's no arguments. He goes, look, he says, what happened to the pits? He's like, I really don't think it affected us. He was, not only did he drive his ass off, but he was a class act in defeat. I think, Rossi at number 4, I think for my reasons, for everything you said, I don't think anybody's going to argue it. Rossi is definitely number 4 on my list. So moving on to my top 3, I'm kind of interesting. I think you've got an idea where my top 3 are at, but I'm kind of really interested to see what Chris's top 3 is. Chris, who do you got at number 3 on your list?
Well, Jim, I am actually going to Fox Raceway in California for Pro Motocross, the 450 class. Eli Tomac back to his winning ways, another 1-1. Eli always seems to have something go wrong during the Supercross season. He's yet to win a title there. There were some brain farts this season that really kept him from being able to challenge Cooper Webb the way that he needed to be able to win that championship. But dude is just money outdoors. Even though I think we both had Ken Roczen on our lists last weekend, Eli Tomac was right there, and he was the guy who won those other motos. And now he's back on top of the standings with the 1-1. He's got the red plate back. He's got that number 1 plate. it's not going to be a cakewalk for him this year in the championship, but kudos to Eli for going to a track like Fox Raceway that hasn't been on the schedule for nearly a decade, going out and being able to sweep the weekend. That is a sign of strength. That is a sign of dominance. You know, he was the only rider to be able to sweep during the weekend. You know, two different riders won in the 250 class. So Eli Tomac gets my number 3, and you know, I've got to give it to him. I've got to give credit where credit is due. I feel like I'm hard on Eli Tomac all the time, but there's no way I could have put him any lower than 3 after, getting a sweep like that to reestablish the winning ways.
Yeah, no, and any other weekend, Eli Tomac could be right there on my list. He didn't make my list this week, but coming in at number 3, and, this was an easy decision for me at number 3. Obviously, you've got the big 3. You've got Indy 500, Monaco GP, and the Coca-Cola 600. I think out of those 3 events, the Coca-Cola 600 is nobody would even argue that it's number 3 on the list. So for those reasons, I've got Martin Truex, who was your Coca-Cola 600 winner. And any given week, he would be number 1 on my list. But because of the weekend, he is slotted in at number 3. It's his 3rd win on the year. He's solidly in the top 10 in points. And, he took home a grueling Coca-Cola 600. I think 600 miles in a race car, I don't care if you're at Vegas, Reno, Baja, it's crazy. And to do it in Charlotte on Memorial Weekend, where you and I were just out there, it was warm. I think we're talking mid-90s with like 80% humidity. That's a long time to be in a Cup car. It's crazy to me. I think, not only did he win the race, but you look at what it takes to actually win the Coca-Cola 600, just from a fitness and endurance standpoint. It's crazy. But Martin Truex, solid number 3 on my list.
Perfect segue into my number 2, who is Martin Truex Jr. Every reason that you've said also applies here, but the one thing that really stood out to me about the weekend for Martin Truex Jr. and about that 600-mile race, dude scraped the wall pretty early on, and he hit it pretty hard. As a matter of fact, it seemed like most of the Toyotas, most of those Joe Gibbs Racing Toyotas, were getting up in the wall. Eric Jones crashed out in the first stage of the race, didn't have a chance to go for the victory. I know Denny Hamlin, I think, made contact a couple of times. Matt DiBenedetto also hit a wall. Martin Truex Jr. also put it in the wall, and, they definitely had some scrapes. When they go produce a race-winning version of that diecast, it's going to have a big white streak all down that side because, MTJ put it in the wall, but, managed to get a stage victory and the race victory. Like you said, multiple wins this season. He's right up there in the championship hunt. He's seeming to rediscover now that he's had, a few months with Joe Gibbs Racing to be on track and get adjusted to that team after Furniture Row shut down. He seems to be adjusting fairly well to that squad. They seem to be in a great place having him there. I see a lot more victories for Martin Truex Jr. in the future. And, this season, I could definitely see him winning that second championship. And I really think that a race victory like the 600, on Sunday can really be one of those wins that just sort of kicks off a magical run. I know they've already had a couple, but, sometimes you need that signature win. And I think this is, if this isn't it, it's damn near close.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Truex, like I said, any other week he'd be number 1 on my list. Coke 600, just a massive victory. I agree. He's building momentum, and I think as we kind of approach this stretch over the summer, he's going to be one of the guys to beat. Definitely got the momentum in his favor for sure. Speaking of momentum in his favor, picking up his 4th win on the year. Currently got the points lead in F1. Monaco GP winner Lewis Hamilton, definitely number 2 on my list. Monaco, I've been a massive, massive Formula One fan my entire life. Monaco is that premier race. It's their Indy 500, their Daytona 500. It's a magical place. I know that the cars there, it's not like watching the cars at Circuit of the Americas where they're wide open, but there's just something special about that place. And, and drivers, I know this isn't Lewis Hamilton's first Monaco win, but definitely anytime you can win it, it's like stepping, being able to kiss the bricks at Indy, drink the milk. I mean, it's magical. For those reasons, Monaco, I rank it up there with, just because of the nostalgia as one of the biggest races in the world. But to me, it's always going to play second fiddle to the Indy 500 because Indy is that special. For those reasons, though, Lewis Hamilton, he is number 2 on my list, which I think going into number 1s, Chris, we're probably both. Actually, I would pull your journalism card. I would. At this point, if you've gone through your top 4 and you don't have Simon Pagenaud as number 1 on your list, I think I would be like, Chris, what the hell is going on in your head? But I think you and I both Simon Pagenaud number 1, right?
God, and here I was all teed up to make a Fernando Alonso
Oh,
yes, of course, Simon Pagenaud is number 1. I think it's the first time that anybody has had number 1 3 weeks in a row in either of our lists, not to mention both of our lists, but the month of May that Simon Pagenaud has just been fantastic. And I'll let you get into the race details, but, for me, the biggest story of this, Simon Pagenaud's contract was up after 2019.
I was hoping you'd hit
did
that.
not win a race last year.
No.
Yeah.
And, and the rumor is Rossi, because his contract with Andretti is up, and I think Rossi's a loyal guy, and I honestly think, Rossi is most likely going to re-sign with Andretti. You never know, but that Penske allure, it's taken some of the greats away from their current teams, but Pagenaud, he knew. I mean, he's fighting for a job. And Roger said, and I think Roger point blank said, he goes, I don't talk about business, but Simon's safe. After the May he had, and I think Robin Miller, he wrote an article on that. He goes, you win the Indy 500. What happens is Roger calls you to Charlotte, and he re-signs you for another 2 years. And that I think Robin Miller said that. And Simon Pagenaud bought himself another 2 years of job.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing. The Rossi rumor was really interesting because here's somebody who, through that Honda link, is already running sports car races for Team Penske in the Acura prototype program. So, the rumor had legs for a reason. But now I think we're going to get one of the more boring, silly seasons that we've seen because I don't think we're going to have a lot of top-tier driver movement anywhere. And to me, that's fine because now you've got guys like Rossi at Andretti that will be able to, build their legacy with a team like that. One of the things that excites me about the current crop of IndyCar drivers is, you've had Scott Dixon with Chip Ganassi for ages and ages and ages. But think about some of the other high-profile pairings in motorsports. The Jeff Gordon with Hendrick Motorsports in NASCAR. Now the Michael Schumacher at Ferrari, for all the years that he was there. IndyCar right now is set up in such a way where there are a few guys out there. Rossi at Andretti is one of them. Joseph Newgarden at Team Penske is one of them. You got guys like Scott Dixon and Will Power who have already been kind of established there, but you've got a lot of young drivers and also importantly, young American drivers who I think have a chance to really establish themselves for a very long time with the teams that they're at. I think Simon Pagenaud's win was great for his career, but on a larger scale, I think it was great for IndyCar and brand building and just sort of these relationships for all of these, top drivers.
And I don't think people realize that, like Pagenaud getting renewed by Penske, the domino effect, if Penske would have dropped Pagenaud, then you've got Rossi, who theoretically would have moved over into the Penske seat. Then you've got a top flight ride there for a guy like Rossi, or at Andretti that everybody's going to want. So who's going to move from their team and open up a spot there? And the domino effect, you know what I mean? And now with Pagenaud re-signing, Rossi's going to re-sign with Andretti, and I would almost bet, because of his age, Rossi's going to have a 5-year deal with Andretti. I bet this new renewal, I bet it's like a 5-year deal, which is basically going to put him there for, I don't want to say the remainder of his career, but the prime of his career. It's going to be like a Ryan Hunter-Reay thing where he's been at Andretti for a long, long time, but it solidifies things. So I think the domino effect is you've got a kid like Colton Herta, who's a rookie, and obviously he would have been a front runner in Indy. He had crap hit the fan in the opening laps, and it wasn't his fault. It just the car failed, right? But a guy like Colton Herta, you don't think Roger Penske's looking at him? You don't think Andretti? Obviously, that's an Andretti fielded car in a roundabout way, but I think I think that that re-signing Pagano, that whole domino effect we would have seen through the IndyCar garage is kind of gone away now.
Oh, no doubt. Unless, big if here, but if Fernando Alonso decides that he wants to go full-time racing with somebody, I can't think of a team that would, say no to that. I think it'd be a hard one to turn down, and frankly, after the way that this month went with McLaren, I think Fernando's got to take a long, hard look at the relationship that he's got with that organization and really wonder if they're going to stop looking like monkeys with footballs anytime soon. Because over the past few years in Formula One and with this Indy 500 program that we've heard so many just laughable stories about, your CEO should not be tracking down your steering wheel, I could very well see Fernando being the biggest name in play for a full-time seat if he decides that he wants to go full-time racing. I mean, the world is Fernando Alonso's oyster right now, but, there is going to be one hell of a bidding war for his services if he decides he wants to go full-time IndyCar racing. I think for the sake of a better 500 program, he needs to, just to build those team relationships. And, all the luck in the world to anybody who's got a bid for his services. And frankly, after this year, all the luck in the world to McLaren in trying to keep him.
Yeah, you know who I could think would be a good target? I think Andretti, obviously, he had that run there, but I think with their relationship with Honda and things like that, you want to know who I really think would be a good fit for Alonso? And obviously, they have the oval program that's gonna win him an Indy 500, but the road racing program, they're solid. But I think Alonso could actually help them with that. And it's the team that Danica Patrick went to when she wanted to do a one-off, but I could see Ed Carpenter Racing. I think they're a top-flight team, especially on the ovals, but I think with Alonso under their banner, I think it could take ECR to the next level. So I could see that. That's just me pipe dreaming here and no basis whatsoever. I could see that. And I look at like Andretti, and everybody wants to think Alonso to Andretti, but I look at a guy like Connor Daly, who was widely known. He was fighting for a job. U.S. Air Force came in and said, we are going to field you again at the Indy 500. Connor Daly ran up front all day long. He finished uneventful in the top 10, had an amazing, probably the drive of his life at the Indy 500. I could see the U.S. Air Force going, you know what, we're going to up for some more races with Connor Daly. And, and Andretti's got that sponsor sitting there. A guy like Alonso, U.S. Air Force isn't going to sponsor him. They want an American, right? So, and say Andretti adds another car now, Connor Daly, I don't see a home for Alonso and Andretti which everybody thinks that's what everybody wants to believe. I just don't see it happening, but I think a team like ECR that can win races, I could see Alonso going there, even maybe a Ray Hall. I don't know,
Yeah, I agree. I think that if anybody is next in line at Andretti, it's Connor Daly. I think he's earned that consideration. I think it's frankly surprising that he didn't finish in the top 5. You get shuffled back sometimes and you have some hard breaks. Connor was certainly a top 5 car. Absolutely Ed Carpenter Racing, I think, is in the discussion, and if McLaren was to buy Fernando a ride, I think that's the only team that they could have found a way to try to do it at where it would have made a difference. But, the other thing that I keep in mind, Chip Ganassi's been pretty trigger happy with that number 10 car over the past couple of years. Ed Jones only got a year in that seat and just got booted right away before he really had a chance to establish himself after he had been overachieving as a rookie with Dale Coyne. So, no pressure on Felix Rosenquist, who has been pretty solid in his first few races and has been a highly touted prospect and somebody people have looked at for years. But that if Chip Ganassi has the opportunity to sign Fernando Alonso to partner Scott Dixon, he's going to do it, right? If Ganassi is even in the conversation for a second, then I think that, I think that's where Fernando's got to go, because I don't see him landing at Penske. I don't see them doing a 4th full-time car. because I don't see them doing more than 4 at Indy. And I think that if they're doing that, then Helio Castro-Neves is going to be in that car, even though this month of May was not really what he was looking for at all. No. But, you know,
he had a couple of bonehead mistakes.
Yeah,
Helio had a couple and I didn't even think about Ganassi, but, you know, rumors were when the rumor that McLaren was going to do a full-time IndyCar effort, 2-car IndyCar effort, rumors were it was going to be Dixon and Alonso, you know, in those 2 seats. So that would be very interesting. I think, you know, if indeed they did sign Ganassi, or he did sign with Ganassi, it opens up a lot of other opportunities, because he has been vocal that, hey, I would like to try the Daytona 500. Well, being with Ganassi opens that opportunity up. They have an amazing program with IMSA. You know, I know it's obviously a toss-up right now with Ford and, you know, and whatever the heck's happening with them in the future, but I don't see Ganassi getting out of IMSA anytime soon. And I know that, so I think there's an opportunity for him to go and do some road racing for Ganassi too. So I agree with you, Chris. I think Ganassi would be an amazing spot for Alonso to land.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially with that Daytona 500, because you know that guys like Jimmy Johnson, because obviously Jimmy did the ride swap with Fernando, and that was pretty cool. But guys like Jimmy Johnson, everybody in the NASCAR garage would be more than willing to help Fernando get up to speed. I mean, obviously now with NASCAR, you've got the whole charter deal where, you know, you're pretty much set in any race that you want to be in anyway, and you know that Ganassi would make a deal to make sure that he was guaranteed in the race and didn't have to worry about it, the same way they did with Jamie McMurray's swan song in February. But, you know, I could really see Fernando, given the right opportunity, having a chance to win that race, because we all know how Daytona works. It's kind of a crapshoot. I mean, we haven't seen it yet with the current package, because the last race for the restrictor plates was this year's Daytona 500, but we have seen a lot of drama from those, from that new NASCAR package so far this year. Talladega was a wild one, you know, certainly an interesting one to watch. I'm sure that July's race at Daytona and then the fall race at Talladega aren't going to be any different. So, you know, hey, what the hell? I mean, you know, again, sorry to Felix Rosenquist. I'm not trying to make you the latest, you know, 1-year victim of that second Ganassi seat. But, you know, I think that if Fernando wants to try to win a bunch of different racing disciplines, you know, and if he wants to do that here in the States, then I think Chip's probably the guy he's got to call.
Yeah, nope, I completely agree. It should be interesting. And by the way, you and I got on this tangent. Yes, we are talking about Simon Pagenaud as our number 1 this week, as we went down that rabbit hole of, but Pagenaud, our number 1, rightfully so, swept the month of May. He's keeping his Penske seat, and I think he wins the month of May regardless. I don't care. Simon Pagenaud, he wins the month of May, period. Like you said, if you rank the month of May, he's our number 1 overall, period. You know, an amazing month. Should be interesting to see going into the stretch where we've got the Detroit double, we've got Texas, then I think they've got a weekend off, and then aren't they what is the road course in Wisconsin? Why am I drawing a blank here, Chris? I should know that. I know it runs at the end of June. I don't know. We're in this
good old Road America.
Road America. Why was I thinking the road course in Wisconsin and I couldn't think Road of America or Road America? Crazy. I don't know where my mind goes sometimes, but I could tell you the state that it ran, but I couldn't tell you the name of the track. How weird is that? I think it should be with a stretch with 4-point scoring races in the month of June, you know, with 2 at Detroit, Texas, and then Road America. It should be interesting to see Simon Pagenaud now that he does have the points lead, I believe by 1 point over Newgarden. And let's not count out Rossi, who is 3rd in the points, man. That's one thing I love about IndyCar. I mean, Formula One, you look at it, and you're like, oh, Hamilton, he's kind of walking away with it already. But IndyCar went down to the wire last year, and I'm seeing the same thing happen in 2019, Chris.
Absolutely, Jim. And the fact of the matter is, they don't need to do it with playoffs.
No.
Sorry to take that shot there, but you know they don't.
No, they honestly, it's good, solid racing, and I've said that for years. You know, it's like NASCAR wants to fix what's going on. They don't need playoffs. They don't need stage racing. They just, you know, IndyCar doesn't. There's no gimmicks. There's no playoffs. There's no stage racing. It's just good racing. And not that NASCAR is bad racing, but I think they're throwing things at the wall right now. Like, they finally, like you and I said, you and I talked about it at Charlotte, they fixed qualifying finally. It's like, I think they're trying these gimmicks to try and bring in viewership and things like that. I think go back to the roots. If NASCAR all of a sudden, in 2020, we're going to do regular qualifying, we're going to have a regular points season, and, and I'm not saying you can restructure the points. Maybe that was the problem, but no more stages. We're just going to have racing. I think it's going to bring fans back, to be honest with you.
I mean, as a Saturday night short track guy growing up who always enjoyed heat races, I don't mind the stages as much as everybody else does. I do love what they did with qualifying. I love that it's classic qualifying. I love that we get to see every single car again. And especially in this day and age now where we've got the virtual technologies where we can line up the car on the track with the guy who's got the pole coming in and be able to see the lines that they're running and see where guys are gaining and losing time. That to me is phenomenal. I mean, everybody was a little concerned that single car qualifying was going to make for worse TV. No, it's 10 times better TV because you've always got a car on the track. You've always got something interesting happening. You're able to see everybody's car. And in this day and age where paint schemes change every single week, I think there's something to be said for that. I mean, I wish they would have done it a little sooner, and I think everybody does, but NASCAR making the change to qualifying that they made, I think is one of the best moves that they could have possibly made. And like you said, I think there's something to be said for going with throwback tendencies on a number of things. It's why everybody loves Darlington weekend. Everybody loves the throwback paint schemes so much. There are definitely some throwbacks in the race package that and the rules package that I think are going to make a lot of NASCAR fans really happy. And I know that the folks at NASCAR are listening. I know that they're trying not to, make things too complex. I know that they're trying to dial the product back to its absolute finest, what's going to make it its best. And we've been a little hit or miss on the race package so far, but it's made for some great super speedway racing and some great short track racing. And I think that's really the bread and butter at this point, not the 1.5 mile ovals. As awesome as it was for us to be at Charlotte, I think that, those short track and super speedway races are really what sell your product. And between that and between the qualifying being what it is now and a couple of other things that, seem to be going really well down the pipeline, I think we could see a turnaround fairly soon. It's always fun to just see how different racing series sort of have to respond to the times. And, certainly fan response is almost always universally negative. I mean, I don't think either of us was around for when a lot of the teams at Indianapolis started moving to rear engine vehicles instead of front engine ones. But you and I both know that there were probably a lot of angry people at Indianapolis seeing that for the first time, thinking it was sacrilegious or whatever. But you know how it goes in motorsports. I mean, if you aren't trying new things, then you aren't trying hard enough to win. I've kind of paraphrased, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying there, but it's hard for a sanctioning body to really, cheat on its own rules package. All that rambling is to say, I think NASCAR is making steps in the right direction. I think that we're going to see some really interesting stuff over the next couple of years. I personally have never been a playoff guy in motorsports, except for an NHRA ladder, because that's literally the only way it works. But, I think they're working hard to turn it around. And, I think that qualifying going back to what it's always, what it had always been for years is a really, really good step on their part.
Yeah, completely agree, Chris. I know this is, since we're doing podcast form this week, it's been our longest power rankings ever, but I think it was definitely rightfully so after this big weekend. But always appreciate you taking the time to call into the show. And, we'll do it again next week after this next crazy, crazy weekend in motorsports we've got upon us this week.
Oh, yeah, Jim. Bring it on.
Anywhere is possible. It's more than just a slogan. Anywhere is possible with General Tire's wide variety of tires for whatever it is that you drive. Whether you're looking for off-road capability balanced with impressive on-road performance or ultra-high performance offering all-season traction designed with a driving enthusiast in mind, General Tire has what you need to get where you're going. General Tire, providing anywhere is possible with the Down and Dirty Radio Show since 2012. Are you looking for a place to push yourself behind the wheel and see how your driving skills stack up? Dirtfish Rally School is that place. Located on 315 acres of pristine automotive playground at the foot of the Cascade Mountains in Snoqualmie, Washington, right outside of Seattle, Dirtfish Rally School is a one-of-a-kind place where everyone from first-time drivers to seasoned professionals like Bucky Lassick and Antoine Lestage can push themselves to their limit. Whether driving the high-performance, rally-prepped all-wheel drive Subaru Impreza STI is what you're looking for, or you'd rather hang it all out in the rear-wheel drive Subaru BRZs, Dirtfish Rally School has something for everyone. Classes are available from 2 hours to 3 full days and feature instructors with over 150 years of combined racing experience. Whether you're looking to become the best and get an edge on the competition, or just looking to freshen your skills behind the wheel, Dirtfish Rally School is the place to go. For more information on registering for classes, visit Dirtfish on the web at dirtfish.com, or to check out the latest happenings from Dirtfish, follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Dirtfish Rally.
4WP is more than a store. We're truck and Jeep experts and have been for over 50 years. From wheel and tire upgrades to full custom builds, 4WP has you covered. Whether you want to order the best parts online or shop in store, do the work yourself, or get it done by a pro, all roads lead to 4WP. Do your rig right. Shop online or find your store at 4WP.com.
When looking for a new wheel for your off-road vehicle, car, truck, or UTV, the choice is easy. You choose what the pros use. Rob McCachran, Keegan Kincaid, and myself, Jim Beaver, all exclusively use Vision Wheel, whether we're dominating Baja, taking the cup at Crandon, or shredding UTVs. Vision Wheel's trend-setting designs and durability will set you apart from the competition and your friends. Check out visionwheel.com or at Vision Wheel on social media to learn more.
Oh, man, that was a hell of a ride. Go check out mymedic.com for the best first aid kits on the planet and save 15% with discount code Jim Beaver. Again, mymedic.com, discount code Jim Beaver, and save 15%. It's cheaper than a funeral.
Like what you hear? Catch all the back episodes of the Down and Dirty Radio Show on Apple Podcast, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe.
Welcome back here to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. Big thanks to the big power ranking segment we did with Chris Leone. And rolling right into things, I guess we got, we got some gas left in the tank here on the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. So I was out there at the General Tire, the ARCA General Tire 150 at Charlotte Motor Speedway, kind of one of their premier events on the calendar of the ARCA series next to Daytona. It was a big race out there. And, beforehand, was able to catch up with a bunch of different drivers that race in ARCA. I did the same thing last year. We'll have everything compiled into a big podcast on Podcast One and Project Action this coming Friday, I believe. I think we're going to drop it this Friday, which would be, I believe, the 31st. With that being said, I was able to catch up beforehand with a bunch of drivers. One of them is Ty Majeski, who ended up being the race winner. I caught up with him the day before the race. He's got an amazing story. He comes from, esports and iRacing and, one of the big up-and-coming talents, in stock car racing. Ultimately went on to have a phenomenal effort there and won the race. It was a great race. Hopefully you guys watch it on Fox Sports. Amazing race there. I mean, there was a couple guys at the end, Riley Herb, Sheldon Creed, all kind of playing into things. Michael Self had a great run, but it ended up being Ty Majeski with a victory. So this was me catching up with Ty Majeski, I guess, right before his big win last week out there at the General Tire 150 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. All right, we're out here at Charlotte. We got Ty Majeski here, just getting done with some General Tire media. I gotta open here though. It looked like I jumped on your website earlier in the day. You took a podium earlier this year at, I believe, the Rattler 250, and it had to have been about the most awkward thing having a snake wrapped around the back of your neck, man. How was that?
Well, I actually won it the previous 2 times I was there. I'm not a snake guy, that's for sure. But it's worth it if you win. But I got to say, running third, I wasn't feeling it.
You'll wrap the snake around your neck if you take the win, but it's not worth it for a podium.
Yeah, that's right.
So I do want to open up. I know I've started doing a lot of stuff with iRacing recently, just on the media back end, and we're working on just some stuff. I know you've been tied in with them, and you were, I think, number 1 ranked driver in the world at one point. How is that relationship with iRacing, and then how is the esports stuff transitioned when you're actually behind the wheel in ARCA or one of the other NASCAR series?
Yeah, my relationship with iRacing has been great. They started sponsoring me in 2015, and have been a big part of my late model program, and they still are. And they were supported me in my Xfinity debut a couple years ago with Roush Fenway Racing, and so they've been a big part of my career, not just on the racetrack but off the racetrack as well. Obviously, they're the top of the line when it comes to esports and online racing simulation. They have the best product out there. They do a great job of scanning the racetracks and getting all the realism and getting that feel behind a computer screen. I mean, it's difficult to do, and they have a lot of equipment out there that can give you that realistic feel.
How do you feel about some of these drivers coming up? I know, like, I've got a good friend, Mitchell DeYoung, who he went from being actually a real race car driver to now just solely focusing on esports. I mean, do you think here in the next 5 to 10 years that's actually going to be a logical career path for some people?
It's growing bigger and bigger every year, exponentially at that. I think you're seeing, outside of racing, you're seeing Madden tournaments and Call of Duty tournaments and guys that make a legit living playing video games. And I don't see why racing wouldn't follow that. Like I said, iRacing's got a great platform, and they're growing that Peak Anti-Freeze series really quickly, as well as some other platforms within iRacing. And it's gonna grow, and it's gonna continue to do so in the years to come.
Yeah. Well, and I guess that probably with you, because I know like this year you're bouncing around, ARCA, Xfinity, super late models, like you're a guy, you'll drive it all, right? And I guess does something like iRacing really help with that when you're bouncing at all these different tracks, all these different style cars? I mean, does that really help with the transition, you bouncing back and forth between the different platforms?
Yeah, I think it certainly helps. My schedule's a little bit broken up this year, so it's good to just stay sharp and keep your reaction time and your racing senses, so to speak, sharp. I mean, when during the off season, it's great to get on there and race weekly and keep in the swing of things. You keep the rust knocked off, and so you're better and you're more sharp when you get out there on the racetrack.
Well, I know this year you're running a limited schedule here in ARCA. I mean, you've taken the championship multiple times in the Midwest. I mean, how is it to jump to this series? And, what's the schedule look like for this year? I mean, is this one of those years where you're just, trying to drive as much as possible in various different series? I mean, what's the plans for this year?
Yeah, this year is, unfortunately a little bit of an in-between year for me. Obviously, I had the deal last year with Roush Fenway Racing running 12 Xfinity races. And the hope was for me to be full-time this year, and unfortunately it didn't work out that way. And so we're just filling in, trying to find funding for both this year and next year, and trying to get myself in victory lane and stay relevant. And I'm doing a little bit of work for Ford Performance on their simulation side, and trying to help them out, and hopefully we can put together a program for next year.
Well, and that being said, is obviously you've got the talent to drive, and but it's NASCAR and just motorsports in general, it's become an interesting business for anybody, because I feel like you've got to bounce around. I know, like you'd mentioned, you're working with Ford Performance, you're doing a little bit here, a little bit there, just trying to, I guess, stay in front of people. Do you feel like, drivers now, you've got to really be able to diversify to help, make a career happen, because it's just become that tough to get to the top level?
Yeah, I think obviously the obvious answer is you need to find funding for yourself, whether that's within your family or from an outside company. I mean, you got to have the funding to go with it. There's very few guys that are been able to make it based solely on performance nowadays, and that it's unfortunate, but that's part of the game. And performance goes a long way. Anytime you can go in front of a company and say you've won this or won that or done this or done that, that's going to help your chances. And that's what I'm trying to do, and hopefully some will come through.
All right. So last question. We're here at Charlotte. This is kind of become one of the premier ARCA races, obviously back on the schedule last year after a long time away. But, Charlotte here, tied in with Coke 600 qualifying. What would a victory here mean for your career?
It'd mean a lot. Obviously, both myself and Chad Bryan Racing have a lot to prove. I think, we all want to perform well for different reasons, and I think that's why it'll be a good fit. Obviously, being here in front of, we're racing – basically the racing honey hole is here in Charlotte, and it'd be a huge win in front of a lot of important people. It'd be a good step in the right direction for sure.
Yeah, well, and I know a couple years ago you moved to Charlotte. I feel like anytime a driver commits and be like, "Hey, I'm moving to Charlotte," like that's a statement. Like, "Hey, I'm here to play ball." It's how was that move for you? Because when you uproot yourself, you move to Charlotte. It's like you're dedicating yourself to this career path.
Yeah, for sure. I want to give it my best shot, and when you're out of sight, you're out of mind. So. I feel like if I was back in Wisconsin, I wouldn't be in front of these people each and every day, and I think it was the right decision. And I can always go back to Wisconsin and do my thing up there, but for now I'm full force ahead and trying to make a career out of racing.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for the time, Ty, and good luck this year and this weekend at Charlotte.
All right, I appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, and that was Ty Majeski, your General Tire 150 winner at Charlotte Motor Speedway in the ARCA race. And so I think I don't know. That's about all we got left for today. Do want to give a big shout out to all of our partners: Polaris Razor, General Tire, 4-Wheel Parts, MyMedic.com. Don't forget, use the coupon code Jim Beaver for 15% off. Vision Wheel, Gibson Exhaust, Dirtfish, JB Dirtfish will get you 15% off at Dirtfish, MotoShield Pro, and the Blue Water Resort and Casino. You can follow me at Jim Beaver 15 on all forms of social media. Also, I have at Down and Dirty Show on Instagram, as well as at Dirt Daily Media on Instagram. And don't forget, go over to iTunes, subscribe to this show, subscribe to Project Action on Podcast One, and check out, we produce various shows for different customers. One of them is my good friend Jim Riley. I'll be a guest on his show this week. That's called The Answer is Yes, but we also distribute Kelly Crandall's show, the Racing Writers Podcast. You should check that out if you're a NASCAR fan. Top-notch stuff coming out of Kelly Crandall. So big weekend upon us. Make sure and chat with me on social media at Jim Beaver 15. Love to hear your thoughts on Baja, on the stage rally we got going on at Dirtfish Oregon Trail Rally, Pro Motocross, anything that's happening this weekend. Detroit doubleheader. Man, it is a packed weekend in motorsports, and NHRA back on the calendar this weekend as well. So definitely not going to disappoint. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully you guys are too. And be sure and look out next week. We're back to normal here on the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris Razor. It's going to be a good time. Be safe. As always, game on.